Hey guys, how are you? Look, I hope all is well with you. Today is Tuesday, y'all. It's a beautiful day, and I got a little time on my hands, so I thought I would share something with you. Look, I'm just, you know how I get, y'all. You know, when I get to thinking and kind of having my moments of solitude, there's always some things that have come across my mind that I feel like will be profitable for me to share with you, and so I'm going to share something with you today. That for your entertainment. Let me say it that way, for your entertainment. But as always, I hope that me sharing my story is a blessing to somebody, and I hope that my story helps somebody. So I'm just leaving the allergy doctor, y'all, because I struggle, like during spring, fall, man, I struggle with the sinus and the allergy. And so I just left my allergist, and so when I left, I was coming through a particular city, and they're having local elections today, where they're voting for, county officials and things of that sort. And I saw all the people standing out, and everybody was holding their signs for the particular candidate that they want you to, that they're asking you to vote for. And as I came through, I looked at that and I thought about it, and I said, man, it's interesting that the one thing that we don't really talk about is people don't really talk about who they vote for. They don't talk about the candidates that they choose. That is something we keep very private, don't we? We keep that thing very private. I mean, we treat voting like HIPAA. It's just something we don't talk about, and I feel like we ought to be able to talk about it. But as well as I know, if you wanna shut the party down, if you want to shut the cookout down, if you want the social outing, start talking about religion and politics. And boy, you do that, you've opened up a can of something. It gets interesting when you start talking about religion and when you start talking about politics. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to share my story. I'm going to share my voting history story. And and then you give me your comment. I love to hear from some of y'all. Some of you, I'm going to share my story. I hope my story be a blessing to someone. But this is interesting because I just thought about that as I was looking at people standing out with their signs. And I'm like, man, that's just something we don't talk about. And I believe the reason a lot of people don't talk about the candidate that they vote for or the candidate that they're supporting is because, a lot of times, we have friends and we have people that we're close to. And a lot of times I think people just, and there could be a number of reasons, but I'm just speculating one, that, a lot of times you just don't want the tension, because if you like someone and your friends or people that are close to you or your family don't like a particular person, they don't know why they don't like them. They just don't like them. And or they may not like them because they're a Republican. Or they don't like them because they're a Democrat. Whatever the case may be, I think a lot of times we don't share that because we just don't want the tension, the ridicule, because of somebody that we have chose. Somebody that we should be free to do that. But I was 18, y'all, my senior year in high school. I turned 18. I turned 18 in September, my senior year in high school. I did not fail a year. Let me go on and put that out there. I should have failed one year now. That 8th grade year was something else. But I didn't fail. But I was 18, y'all, and I was a senior in high school. And that particular year, we had a presidential election coming up in November of that fall. And also, in the town that I grew up in, we had a historical election that was taking place as well, local election, where we were voting for our county officials and things, all of our county officials. And I never voted, didn't know anything about Democrat, didn't know anything about Republican, didn't know anything about Independent. I ain't know nothing about nothing, y'all. And I didn't even know what to do. So when the time for the election, when the election time came, I went to this well-respected teacher and I asked the teacher, I said, look, this is my first election, I'm going to be participating in. And let me say, because, in high school, when I turned 18, The moment I turned 18, I went on and registered for, what is it, selective services or registered to vote because I was Navy bound. You know, I thought I was going to the Navy, but the Lord had different plans. But nonetheless, short story, I went to the teacher and I said, look, this is my first election. I said, I don't know what to do. You know, what do I do? And the teacher told me, don't worry about that. You're going to be okay. When you go to your voting precinct, there's going to be someone there. When you go to the poll, there's going to be someone there to assist you that will help you. And I said, okay. I said, well, what do I do? You know, like when I get there, I said, where do I go? Because I didn't even know where I went to vote. And the teacher asked me, you know, where did I live? And I said, you know, I live in the projects. Old projects. Oh yeah. And so the teacher said, I believe this particular location is your voting precinct. Turned out it was true. That was my voting precinct. And so I went to that place, and then here was the other question I asked. I said, who do I vote for? Because I just told you, I ain't know anything about nothing. I ain't know nothing. And that well-respected teacher told me this. Never forget, 18. You're black and you're a Democrat. Let that sit with you for a moment now. Because keep in mind, we don't talk about voting. We don't talk about candidates we support and don't support. But I was told by a well-respected teacher, you're black, you're Democrat. And I didn't argue with that because I was like, okay, well, I'm black, I'm Democrat. So true story, y'all. So from about 18, oh, here's the other thing. I said, so when I cast my vote, you know, is there a name? Is there a name of a person that I should be looking for? You know, who do I vote for? You know, and that well-respected teacher said, just look for the D. Just look for the D. You know, because, you know, if the candidate is Democrat, then there's a D out in front of their name or behind it. If they're Republican, there's an R, right? So that's what I did. I went in. I didn't know any better. I was misinformed or ill-informed, and I would just look for the D. And so from 18 years old to about 26 years old, y'all, that's exactly how I voted. I would go every election. Didn't miss no election. I was proud because I voted. And it was more important to me to just go and exercise the right to vote and put the little sticker on my shirt that says I voted. And I would walk around with that little sticker on my shirt like I had done my part, like I had done something so rewarding because I got out and exercised my right to vote. And that's what I did. And so, look, my wife knows this story. A lot of people know this story. But from 18 to 26, all I did, I went to the poll every election, and I didn't know who the person was, didn't know what their platform was, didn't know what they believed, didn't know what they stood for, didn't know their background, didn't know anything. Only thing I knew was to look for the D, because I was black and I was a Democrat. And so I looked for the D and I voted. That's how I voted. Hands down. Didn't matter how good an opposing candidate was. It didn't even matter. If you don't have the D by your name, you're not getting my vote. And so that's how it was. So fast forward, by the time when I got 26, 27 is when things began to change. My life had changed. My viewpoints were changing. I'm now a believer, and I'm now, really trying to anchor in on the principles and the teachings of Scripture and the principles and teachings of the kingdom. And so my values changed. My viewpoint changed. Excuse me. And the way I started to look at things, not just on a local level, I started looking at things locally. I started looking at things statewide. I started looking at things nationally. I started looking at things globally. And so from about 27 on to current, 27 to now, I started voting my convictions. And I started checking out the candidates. I started, going on their web pages and reading their platforms and seeing what their beliefs were. And what I was looking for, and what I continue to look for, I wasn't necessarily looking for party. I was looking for person, male or female, who identify with my convictions, who identify with my values. And my values and convictions, I do my best to line them up with Scripture. Do I fail? Yeah, I fail. There's some things that I'm not there yet on, but nonetheless, I still try to make it my aim to, find people that align with my convictions, align with my core values. And so, true story, after I started voting my convictions, now I just told y'all from 18 to 26, I just looked for the D. Now 27 onward, I started voting my convictions. This is a true story. One election year, y'all, I went to vote. And I went into the precinct that I had been going all these years. I went to the precinct to vote. I went to the polls to vote, the location. And I went into the table. Table was long. You had all the people there that was assisting the voters. And I told them, I said, I'm coming to cast my vote. And they asked me, okay, what's your name? Of course, they know my name. And they asked me my name. I gave them my name, and I also gave them my ID. And gave them my driver's license to show that it was me. And but they couldn't find my name. And I thought that was odd. They couldn't find my name, and I was like, okay. And then, of course, I grew up in a small town, so everybody know everybody. Everybody knows somebody directly or indirectly. And so the ladies that were there, they knew me, and they said, Rainey, we don't know why your name is not showing up, because we noticed where you vote at, And so, true story, they told me, they said, check over to that table. It was another table, like, let's say this table was at 6 o'clock. There was another table that was at 3 o'clock position. And they said, check at that table and see if your name is at that table, right? So I said, okay, cool. I went over to the table. There was a brother, there was a guy, he was over there managing that table. And so when I came up, I said, hey man, they told me to come over here and see if my name is at this table. And he said, okay, and he kind of had this smile on his face, and I was smiling because his energy was so positive. I mean, he had great energy. So we was just smiling, but I didn't know why I was at this table. And he said, man, your name is over here. He said, so he pulled up my name, looked at my ID. He gave me my ballot so I can go and cast my vote. And so now, I'm in there casting my vote, but I'm thinking about, okay, why was my name at this table and not at the other table? And so I come out. This is a true story. This is my story, true story. I come out, I asked him, I said, bruh, let me ask you a question, man. I said, why my name was at this table and not at that table? And he looked at me, and this is what he said. He said, man, this is the Republican table. I said, huh? I said, really? He said, yeah, man, this is the Republican table. This Republican side, Republican table, or something like that. I said, how did I get over here? He didn't know. I didn't know. And I said, oh, well. I said, okay. I said, bro, let me ask this question here. I said, how many people been to this table today? Because, I grew up in a predominantly black city. I'm talking about, Canton's predominantly black leadership, everything. So I said, how many people been at this table? And the reason I asked that is because, it's late in the afternoon, late in the evening. Now it's after 5, because I have to work, and then by the time I get in and all of that good stuff. But he told me, he said, man, you're the third person all day. I said, are you serious? And so at that point, I became a Republican. I didn't even know. I didn't check a box and to say that I was Democrat. I didn't check a box to say that I was Republican. However, I started voting my convictions, and that's what I told you, because I've told y'all I don't have no confidence in the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, because my voting history and voting experience is very interesting, and I've had a lot of people on both sides to make a whole lot of promises and didn't do or fulfill or keep any of them from both parties. And so, being a believer, like I've told you before, I have issues with both sides because, again, so many promises throughout the years been made, and and when the promises are made and then nothing is done, it's the same old stuff. You just kind of get burnt out. You get fed up with it. Until President Trump came along. And that's when it gets interesting. So I told y'all this is my story. Started following President Trump in 2010. I became a huge fan of Trump in 2010. Now that's important. 2010. Trump and Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. This book was just on fire, Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I started following Robert Kiyosaki. I'm still a fan of Robert Kiyosaki. And I'm still a fan of Trump. And Trump and Robert Kiyosaki was doing some things together, and they were sharing some financial ideas and tips, things about taxes that really just blessed me, changed my life. And so I became a huge fan then. I wasn't a huge fan of The Apprentice and all of that. And then also keep in mind, in the black community, I grew up in, listening to 80s and 90s hip hop. I listened to, Boogie Down Production, KRS One, Public Enemy, all that old school stuff. Y'all know as well as I do, in the 90s, I can't say the number of rap songs that came out. Every rap song, not every rap song, but a lot of them had a Trump bar in it. Everybody wanted to be like Trump. In fact, we got a friend, God rest his soul, his name, we call him Trump. And so Trump was revered in the rap community. He was revered, everybody was talking about Trump and Mike. I want to be like Mike. But nonetheless, I started following him in 10. And then when Trump decided to run for president, quite naturally, I was on board because I was like, man, this guy is not a politician. He got my vote right there. So that was, I was like, a non-politician. Oh, I love it. That got me right there. But then nonetheless, when he got in office, the guy made a bunch of promises, and he actually kept them. And he kicked up a lot of dust doing so. Kicked up a lot of dust keeping his promises. He made those promises, and he kept those promises. I never had experienced that. Never experienced that. And so this is, I'm sharing just my story. Never had experienced anything like that. And so I take my hat off to him because I know, in that kind of in that arena, in that environment, it's difficult to do that. But this guy made a whole bunch of promises, and he kept those promises, and stirred up a lot of water. The water got very murky, but he did what he said he was going to do. And so I remember that, again, during that time, if you supported Trump, man, you were demonized, particularly if you supported Trump and you were black, because you remember, you're black, you're Democrat. But if you supported Trump, man, you was tore out the frame. You were demonized. And you see what's happening, and you see what's happening in the sports arena now with Kwame Brown and how he's revealing some stuff in the even in the sports arena with the media. Kwame has come out and he's being very open, and he's putting a lot of things on blast, things that we've been saying for years. And now you got people that are coming out these arenas, people that have been in those arenas, people that have made their life, their living in those arenas. These people are coming out now, and they're telling you and I what's going on. But we've been knew this stuff was going on. And so the media did the same thing with black celebrities who supported Trump. Who y'all saw what we did, the black community, to Steve Harvey when Steve Harvey met with Donald Trump. And when the man just met with Trump, trying to do something positive for the black community, trying to put these camps in all of these cities, and the black community tore Steve Harvey up. Every national syndicate radio said he lost his mind, and oh man, we did him in. Terry Crews, when he came out and tried to say all lives matter, man, the black community and the media towed this man out the frame. Ice Cube, when he came out and tried to work with President Trump, he was demonized, and the black community towed this man out the frame because he was trying to do something that would help the black community. And so all these people got involved, and they put on public display who they endorsed, or not necessarily endorsed, but who they was willing to work with. And if you endorsed Trump, or if you were willing to work with Trump, oh my goodness, you were tore out the frame, and the media was sick on you because you had lost your mind. You was crazy. And I just wanted to share that. I don't know if this is going to help somebody, or if somebody can identify, but I'm going to say this going forward. I'm not afraid to tell you who I support and why I support them. But it shouldn't be to the point that when you make a choice to support whatever candidate you decide to choose, whether it be a local election, whether it be partisan or non-partisan, or when you support somebody, there's a reason why you support that person, and you should be free to exercise your choice in that person. And you shouldn't be demonized because you choose somebody that everybody else doesn't choose, or everybody else doesn't want, and or everybody else don't like this certain person because they're Republican or they're Democrat. You should be free to choose whoever you want to choose. And if you want to discuss that, you should be free to discuss that. If you don't want to discuss it, you don't want to. I just thought I'd share my story to show y'all how I got to where I'm at today. So I still vote my convictions though, and I want to encourage you, because the last election got very ugly, and 2022 is going to be something else. I'm telling you, that's going to be really something else, and 2024 is going to be even bigger. But I want to encourage you to vote your convictions. Look for persons that line up with your core values and your core beliefs, the things that are near and dear to you. I look for kingdom principles, kingdom values. That's what I look for. And so I hope this blesses you. I just wanted to share it with you. I don't even know. I just wanted to share it with you, but that's my voting history. Look, y'all be blessed. I'll see you when I see you. Talk to you later.